So I must be honest. I'm not too familiar with the subject matter, but this was sent to me by a lovely viewer and major cool person, Mila, in regards to the governor of California. President Newsom, in quotes obviously, goes anti-solar and pro-nuke with a ticking clock. This is from rsn.org. So once again, Gavin Newsom is very clearly trying to make steps to like launch a future president run for the presidency. Maybe he's thinking if Biden doesn't go for it in 24, I'll jump in. Or maybe he's also thinking maybe just 2028, I'll jump in. And so while Mila was at brunch, she managed to send me this article. Now, again, I am not very well informed on nuclear power, but I am informed enough on solar and wind to know that solar and wind is better than nuclear. So, green, so-called, Gavin Newsom, the California governor who would like to be president, has gone intensively anti-solar and pro-nuke. He now demands that by Wednesday night, that's tonight, within 48 hours, the state legislature approve keeping the Diablo Canyon nuclear reactors open indefinitely. The shocking pro-nuke move comes parallel with the governor's attempt to tax rooftop solar out of existence. That decision could come from the CA Public Utilities Commission within a month. It is astonishing. It's an astonishing 1-2 punch that has deeply infuriated California's safe energy community. I don't know why anyone would not want solar panels on the roof. Like, to me, the only thing about having solar panels on the roof that is like a negative is the prohibitive cost for the consumer, right? But if the government is subsidizing it with tax credits and other such things, that's a good thing, right? That's a fucking good thing. And then it's also like, if the argument is that nuclear power, if somehow you're pro-nuke or whatever, and you want to, like, I don't know, phase out nuclear power but use it properly while we still can, or whatever, like, nuanced argument you want to pretend to come up with, there's no reason not to diversify energy from multiple different sources, right? So let's say you want to keep the Diablo Canyon nuclear stuff going on. Why would you not also want to get solar energy much more mainstream? Why would you not want to phase it out over time with other kinds of power, right? Seems like an odd choice. Newsom says he needs Diablo to meet future energy demand, but there are 1 million rooftop solar arrays in a statewide wind solar industry that employs some 70,000 workers. There are 1,500 at Diablo Canyon. With a new federal tax credits and other incentives, renewables are transforming the state, letting hundreds of thousands of households to produce their own clean, cheap energy and break away from utility-owned grid. Thus, Newsom's choice of energy future based on an atomic reactor than solar energy has shocked the state. Designed in the mid-1960s, the Diablo reactors have hosted more civil disobedience arrests than any other in the U.S. The Nuclear Regulatory Commission has long since warned that Unit 1, very ominous name, Unit 1, right, is dangerously embrittled. A deep structural flaw that could turn a meltdown into an apocalyptic explosion. NRC site inspector Dr. Michael Peck has warned that while just 45 miles from the San Andreas fault, I imagine, the reactors can't withstand credible seismic shock from a dozen or more fault lines surrounding the site. The rise of renewables has slashed Diablo's ability to compete, facing major losses and expensive upgrades. Pacific Gas and Electric helped convene a 2-year series of public deliberations to plan a shutdown by 2024 to 2025, while Diablo's NRC license, when Diablo's NRC licenses would expire. The painstaking collaboration was crowned in 2016 when then Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom joined then-Governor Jerry Brown with PG&E regulators, unions, local governments, environmental, and citizen groups in mapping out a smooth transition to a renewable-based future. Thousands of megawatts of green capacity were factored into the phase-out, guaranteeing California would avoid shortfalls while transitioning to solar wind batteries efficiency. They would guarantee the state's energy security while chasing its carbon reduction targets. Notable opposition came from San Luis Obispo Mothers for Peace, who would still want an immediate shutdown. Mothers for Peace. I love mothers, and I love peace. So those are two things that I'm a huge fan of. In 2019, the mothers also joined a broad coalition asking Newsom to conduct an independent inspection to evaluate the reactor's safety. Newsom has refused. He also wants to hand PG&E $1.4 billion in public money to keep Diablo operating for an undetermined years to come. So this is the other thing. So it's like the way neoliberalism works, right, is giving people free energy or the ability to produce their free energy. Thus, they're not tied to the energy grid, or thus, you know, they're not reliant on the energy grid, is a net negative for neoliberalism, because how else are they going to make money out of you? If you are generating your own product and you don't need to spend money on someone else's product, how are they going to rake in money on sales tax? How are they going to get private companies? Right? More money, right? Because usually utilities are ran by private corporations. Very often, you know, the municipalities will just contract private corporations, and then they gain a monopoly, and then we'll just price gouge their citizenry. Look at Texas, for example. They do that shit all the time with their ERCOT bullshit. In a very rushed process with no public hearings or inspections, Newsom's move to cancel Diablo's orderly phase-out infuriated green activists who view it as an autocratic, arbitrary, and opportunistic betrayal. This is a long article. Holy moly! I love this, by the way. I love that font. It's a good font. Newsom's sudden support for 35-year-old reactors surrounded by earthquakes. Earthquake faults with major structural flaws in a green state is widely seen as part of a presidential campaign ready to reap huge utility and nuke-powered donations. Newsom says he fears shutting Diablo could cause embarrassing blackouts, but the reactor's downtime is substantial. They regularly destabilize the statewide grid, and they can always blow up. This is like when Gavin Newsom vetoed the safe injection sites and was like, I don't know, didn't really come up with a goddamn fucking reason, but he just did it anyway. This is the same thing. You know, I'm afraid that maybe something could possibly, I don't know, maybe I don't know. By contrast, a booming network of independently owned battery systems recently helped avert a serious grid blackout. Like all U.S. nukes, Diablo has no private insurance to compensate those harmed by major disaster. If there are workable evacuation plans in the face of a radioactive cloud blowing into Los Angeles, the Central Valley, or the Bay Area, they've not been made public. But Newsom's Diablo package does hand $2 billion or more to PG&E stockholders. Forcing Californians to pay for Diablo's statewide could sabotage community choice aggregation districts, which the big utilities hate. They also hate rooftop solar, which lets homeowners produce their own power and sell it back to the grid. Again, they want to make it so that you are reliant on the government or reliant on private institutions. Having your own self-reliance is bad when it comes to neoliberalism. So heavily funded utility lobbyists are ramming a bevy of taxes and regulations onto the CPUC docket designed to make photovoltaic cells unaffordable. I don't know what a photovoltaic cell is, but I'm assuming it's a battery of some kind. Ironically, Florida's extreme right-wing Governor Ron DeSantis, a possible 2024 Newsom competitor for the White House, has just vetoed a parallel anti-green bill. In both California and Florida, public support for solar is in the range of 80%. One can easily speculate on Newsom's presidential and other motives for this double assault on the green-powered future, but risking billions of public dollars on a dangerous, decrepit nuke plant while slashing rooftop solar certainly sends a message that Gavin Newsom is ready to serve the private utility industry long before the movement for green public power and sustainable planet. Now, again, the thing here that's crazy is that California could be like the trendsetter. Like, oh yeah, we're moving on to the renewable energies. It works. Here's proof. Look at California, right? We banned nuclear power. We banned fossil fuels, and we still and we are selling now. Like, we could, like, let's imagine California gets to a position where they could sell energy to other states, where they can make a deal with Washington or whatever to sell energy to another state. Imagine that kind of scenario, right? And then he could run for 2024 on that. But instead of that, he wants money. And he wants money from the private energy sector. He wants money from nuclear lobbyists, right? Because it's all about the money for these people. They don't care about running on policies. They don't care about actually showing voters that they can do what they advocate. They don't give a fuck. All they want is donor money so that they can overstaff their campaigns and give everyone they like a cool, comfy job and pay them a shitload of money to do nothing. That is why these neoliberals will always be a disappointment. So again, I don't know too much about nuclear energy, but I know enough about solar energy to know that it's better than nuclear energy, less risk, and we can just keep expanding things over time. But of course, the big thing here is that self-reliance versus reliance on a private institution or the government. They're always going to want you to be hooked on them. They're always going to want to send you a bill. Doesn't matter how much the bill is for. It doesn't matter how much, if you can pay it or not, but they want to be able to bill you at all times to know that they are in charge, right? So that's really the ultimate thing here, is that they are in charge, the energy companies are in charge, the government is in charge, and you have no possible ability to do anything about it. That's the world that Gavin Newsom apparently wants to live in. Again, this guy is like, it's very obviously cold and calculated the way he's dealing with his headlines lately. And again, he's doing these weird ad buys where he's running ads in Florida. It's obvious, and you know what? Someone's got to push back on it. So there you go.